Welcome home. We are WNST. Towson, Baltimore. Baltimore Positive. We are positively down here in beautiful Fells Point. The sun's trying to come out. We got rock and roll bands everywhere. Springsteen's in town. Styx is in town. Lake Street Dive's in town. Pearl Jam's still hungover. I thought I'd be hungover today, but just a little rock and roll hungover. Great set list with Pearl Jam on Thursday night. Ravens taking on the Raiders. If you're listening to this on the other end of that, we will not be talking about that game in its entirety. We had Dave Shine in here for about 2 hours talking Olympics, baseball, football, rock and roll. Chad Wiestling's here. He is Black Label Sports, which he is an NFL agent to the Stars. Give me your current roster and name the players that people would know. Other than Josh Jacobs, you're kind of famous for him, but who are the other players you represent?
Right now I have Anthony Averett,
former
Raven.
All right.
He's with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
Anthony Jennings, linebacker for the New England Patriots.
All right.
Mitch Fabroni with the Denver Broncos, long snapper extraordinaire. And then Yadni Kajust, he's on injury reserve right now. A bunch of guys that are injured, Josh Jacobs right now currently is my biggest one. I had Muhammad Wilkerson, obviously, a few years ago, another franchise player with the New York Jets. So, you just sometimes I gotta remember who else.
Well, I ask you 10, 12 players, 15 players.
Yeah.
Like, there's a stable that you have as a really small boutique agent. And then there's the Jerry Maguire. And then, I've been privy to Lee Steinberg's operation and Dunn and back in the day where it felt like they had the quarterbacks or they had a bigger stable. 2,000 players in the league? 1,800 players in the league? How many?
Yeah,
like that?
2,000, yeah.
I know Lamar famously went unrepresented, but 98% of them represented by a guy like you? 99?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And, like, a lot of guys like you have just said after all these years with silver hair, like, I'm just going to take on 10 guys at a time, not an agency where I'm trying to get 60 and having 15 representatives. Because at the end of the day, when you meet these kids and their mommies and their daddies and their wives and their families, they want to have you on the back. That Jerry Maguire thing's important. And you can only be Jerry Maguire for so many people.
Right, 100%. And, being in this business as long as I have, I've had the luxury of kind of learning, going through ups and downs and figuring out, okay, getting to a point. I've had some big players, obviously, have done pretty well. So I've had the luxury of being able now, at this point, I'm in my 50s, to be able to say, what do I really want to deal with? Do I want to, everybody is, there's good people out there, obviously, good players that want to play football, and that's important to them. And then, of course, there's the players that, want to do the other stuff off the field and are more interested in, maybe some of the partying and all the other stuff.
The social aspect.
Yeah, the social aspect of it, and not really, And I was having
they're interested in being a player, not in playing.
Yeah, I just had this discussion last night with a family in person here in Baltimore, where it was like, a lot of these players are always, listen, if they're in the NFL, or have a chance, they're the big man on campus in college. They've always been the superstar. Everything's always been given to them. As far as not just the opportunity, but whether it's free food, free whatever, because everything's been given to them. Now they get to the NFL, and they think they can still cruise like that. And they're still, going to get everything for free. And now you're playing with some men. You get up in the NFL, and there's some men up there. And, that's why the mental aspect of it is very important for players because, if you got a chance at this level, you got the physical ability. You got the athletic, the God-given athletic ability. It's the mental toughness that, hey, who are the guys going to fight? Who are the guys going to keep, want to be there, want to do the extra to stay healthy, stay in the league as long as possible. And you see some of the guys are just, they're drafted or high or whatever just because of their ability, but then, they can't handle it mentally. They when they get knocked down and they're like, oh, this is a little bit too tough for me, or, what they're thinking. So the point of that is I've tried to kind of be more selective on who, I work with, because I'm not for everybody and everybody's not for me. And that's just,
I've learned that in my business too, right?
Exactly. So, you kind of do your best to do your best to kind of weed out the ones that aren't right for me, and vice versa, and be more selective in who I work with, and listen, like as I said earlier, if I had one superstar quarterback, that's all I need.
Right. Well, I mean, in the case of like Josh Jacobs,
especially with the money they're making nowadays.
But when the Packers are playing on a Sunday, you got 3 or 4 kids playing at various times. I mean, there's a piece of your soul involved in this, right?
Yeah.
When your kid gets hurt, it's the worst. This is your brother, literally, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is my family.
Right. Yeah.
My family.
Yeah.
So, we've been through, when you're recruiting them since college, nowadays, I mean, as you were talking about NIL stuff, I mean, that's changed the whole game. So, I mean, now people are, you can represent high school kids now if you want to.
How has it changed, and how could you make money on it? How could you dive into it if you wanted to deal with 16 and 17-year-old kids transfer? I mean, it seems to me to be even a greasier, more difficult business than ever, even the AAU money bag part of the basketball side of it. I don't understand the football side of how Alabama and these big programs would handle the young players, but it freaked me out a little bit during preseason. They were trying to help the Terps sell tickets, your Terps. Mm-hmm. Loxley was on the pregame with Sandusky or whatever. He's like, we're paying these kids straight cash now, homie. We're paying them straight cash. Right. And I'm thinking, that's just weird.
Right.
He's there in a turtle outfit with kids in Under Armour gear on the field in an NFL game saying, we're paying these kids cash money for the – it was like a wrestling shoot to me. It looked like literally – and I'm like – and I like Loxley and whatever, and I had his comments last week and all that. I know you got a Terp heart and all that. But I'm thinking, I don't even know, as a journalist, I don't understand it, and I'm trying to, so maybe you could bring me up.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically –
it's the Wild Wild West.
I was just going to say, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's the Wild Wild West. As soon as it got passed, and everyone kind of knew it was coming, but not necessarily how it was going to work. And as soon as it got passed, it's like, hey, that's why all these schools, they're starting their own initiatives and raise fundraisers and getting all this money, so they have to get the top players. And with the transfer portal the way it is, you're buying these.
But
guys.
Also putting some railings in to say whose money, where, what's the expectation. This sub shop's giving this kid $5,000 and he's flunking out of class. I mean, there's just the unintended consequences. I don't even know what they are or where to even begin.
Well,
the unintended consequences is everybody in this bar, including you, who loves the Terps, is like, who's that kid? Who's that kid? What's the transfer portal? How do I latch on to anybody? How long is this kid going to be here, whether it's football, basketball, lacrosse, boys, girls, men's, women, whatever? Like, I'm blown away by the fact that it's unmarketable to me, unless you just love Alabama.
Right.
Like, trying to market the young people when there's no promise they're going to be here tomorrow, and then they got to go to class too. They're serving a lot of masters, dude. 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids. It's
these college sports now, it's professional. Because, I mean, it used to be, just you had the 8 coaches or whatever it is. Now you have a recruiting coordinator, transfer guy. You have a whole scouting department with all these, universities.
They brought the bag man on campus.
Right. So, they're following the transfer portal, and they're reaching out, whether they're supposed to or not, I don't know. But, they're reaching out to these other schools or these players because it's free agency every year. It's free agency every year in college.
But if you're a kid, who's your agent? Your parents? Or do they find a guy like you?
Well, I haven't. I don't know if they're. I mean, we can work with them NIL only, so we can. I mean, we can actually sign players in college or high school, and it's NIL only that we're supposed to be able to work with them. But come on, it's that's kind of the wild west.
Well, the same Josh Jacobs is the same kid that at 16 or 17 was going to be Josh Jacobs. This time around, he's going to Alabama, and Alabama's willing to pay him, right? Literally.
Yeah.
And that's happened in a minute.
Yeah. Just
Well, I would just think from a financial standpoint, you're in the space of representing players, there's an opportunity there for you if you see it. You're already saying, like, I'm having a hard enough time with 21, 22, 23-year-old adults trying to keep them healthy, get them to work, identify them. Doing that for 16 or 17-year-olds feels like a whole different level of a guy like you or a gal like you that would want to represent those people.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, it's always been a part of the game. Like when the top players, and I'm talking about being the agent here, recruiting the college players, it's always been a part of the game. Or, you had in the back of your mind, the top players, okay, whether they were there was stuff going on, beforehand, or once they signed, then you have to, like I said, you have to train them. Once you sign, if you're fortunate enough to sign the players, you have to basically support them for up until the draft, and sometimes more than that. And so you have to be able to. Okay, is this the right player? Are you sure? Are you sure he's going to make it?
You're making a true financial investment.
Yeah, I'm investing. 50, 60, 70, maybe sometimes depend more than that, $100,000 into one guy. Hoping that he's going to make. First off, you got to hope he stays with you.
Right.
He could fire you.
Right.
And then that's why there's protections, but then you got to take him to court. That's more. That's all that other stuff. So you got to be really selective and do the best you can to, like I said, learn the family, learn the kid, see what what they really need, and really they don't need anything. I mean, it's other than the training and stuff. But I always tell them, like, listen, you've made it this far. I'm gonna help you. You're gonna be fine. But nowadays these kids are like, I
got to go to this academy, all of that, right?
And it used to be, this back in the day, it used to be just a few spots throughout the country, and where the top players went to train, and it was pretty basic.
Atlanta, Scottsdale, they went to those
basic.
places.
It's basic. Now, of course, there's these big mega complexes, and you got to have the juice bar, you got to have the massage therapist, you got to have the acupuncturist, you got to have all this stuff, and who's paying for it? The agents. Yeah, so it's you had, like I said, that's why.
No wonder he likes baseball, and you just take your mind off with it. I mean, all this aggravation you guys deal with, Chad. I hope the Orioles win for you. Yeah,
thank you.
You get to play, or Iron Maiden shows up. I saw they're coming.
Oh yeah, they're coming. I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah.
So what shows you seen lately? You're a music guy.
Oh man, yeah. I'm trying to think. Lately,
I've been going to a lot of shows this summer, man.
Yeah.
I've seen Bryan Adams, seen Hootie and the Blowfish. I've seen I saw the Stones this summer.
Right.
Yeah.
I know I've seen.
Saw Bruce last week. Saw Pearl Jam last night. I saw Pearl Jam earlier in the summer. So I've been getting out a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying.
I mean, I saw. I went. I did a guys trip with some executives in the NFL actually, because I know Stephen Piercy. So
okay.
Yeah. So we went out to Tulsa, out of all places, in May. It was like, hey, it was like, hey, let's go.
Rat Fest.
Yeah. Well, it was. He's playing. It's like the 35th year of Out of the Cellar. So he's playing the whole thing. So.
Love and use a dirty job. I'm the man to do it.
So went and saw him. I, of course, saw Pantera when they were in town here.
All right.
I'm trying to.
I pegged you on Pantera. I had that.
Yeah.
But you're not into this young. You're no Green Day, no 311. You're not young.
I mean, I can deal with it. I can deal with it. But I'm I'm more of a kind of the old school heavier stuff. That's me. I mean, I'll travel to go see Guns N' Roses, of course, and Metallica. The usuals, which I have. I went to Montana a couple 2 years ago out of the blue just to see Guns N' Roses. I was like, let's go to Montana.
I saw him in Hershey. Can't sing, dude. I walked out.
I know.
It was just terrible.
It's tough. I know.
I left.
Tough.
I like. It felt like Axl was killing. He was murdering. Guns N' Roses music to me. I said to my wife, we got to go.
Yeah.
This is, and that's the only time I've ever really left the show early.
Right. Yeah. No, it's tough. I give him credit because he's still out there, but trying. But then again, it's like some of those songs or some of those notes, like
it's just not good.
It's rough. Yeah. But then you look like Bon Jovi. What do you think about that situation?
I haven't watched the documentary.
Well, he can't sing anymore. I mean, hit those notes like he had to have throat surgery. So it's kind of it's not the same.
Well, I was talking to Shinan about this, because I called Pearl Jam the greatest rock band in the world today, and so he said, that's the Stones. I'm like, no. That would be like saying Cal Ripken's still the great. There's a time, but Pearl Jam's still in their prime to me.
Right.
If you saw them last, they're young enough and vibrant enough that you're getting their best version. No offense to Nils Lofgren or Little Steven or Bruce. It was better 20 years ago.
Right.
They're 80 years old. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not good, but they've learned a different way to do it.
Right.
And it's great. I mean, it's worth going to. I went and saw it last week, but Guns, no, dude, no. I love Slash. I love Guns N' Roses.
Right.
Chad Wiestling's here. He is an NFL agent to the Stars, but more importantly, we're going to move from our NFL portion of the programming to the baseball side because he wants to talk Oriole baseball. All right.
Can we do it?
Well, you asked me this. Of course they can do it. I'm confident that they're going to get some semblance of health.
Right.
I think Rodriguez could pitch a little bit. I think Colon will pitch a little bit. Webb's already throwing. He might be back by the time people hear this next week. So I'm feeling like However the Yankee thing goes next week, we'll judge that, and there might be a brawl for all I know, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
But boys will be boys.
Yeah.
The
The first inside pitch is going to cause
You missed
problems.
my status after the benches cleared 2 months ago. I wrote the boys of dumber. I thought that was good.
Right.
Because you are pretty dumb if you're trying to get hurt before the playoffs over your fifis.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, same thing with you in the NFL. You don't punch the guy. You're out next week. You lose a check. Don't do that.
Right.
You know, we don't. You hurt the team. Don't do that, right? For me with the Orioles,
Plus you're hitting a guy with a helmet.
I don't care what. Right, with your hand.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens in the next 3 weeks. I mean, they can be 5-12 down the stretch. Game 1, Burns goes out and gives you 6 innings. Henderson hits a home run. They don't kick the ball. But kicking the ball around and swinging at bad pitches, in general, not getting on base
Right.
over the last 60 days, it's just a different team than it was in May.
Yeah.
You know, when Kobe Mayo and Jackson Holliday are out there, it's not what it was in May.
Right.
It's a different cast of characters.
Yeah.
And I think you've given me this with your energy. You have a different expectation. You thought they were winning the World Series June 1st. Now all of a sudden you're like, it'll be a miracle if they win because they've been so injured, right?
Well, yeah, it's the injuries. The injuries are brutal. Obviously, it's part of the game, and that's what baffles me is like, how are all these, with all these analytics now, Nestor? It's like, the spin rate. They measure how hard every pitch, like how hard the ball comes off the bat, the angle. It's crazy, but something like why are all these pitchers tearing?
Well, they're not doing the
sign.
science of the physiology of what a human body can and can't do,
Right.
and
It's
what
gotta be.
torque, spin rate. They're not doing what it's doing
Right.
to arms and elbows.
Right.
And there are people that are really smart that aren't changing this.
Right.
Yeah. we put seatbelts on in cars because people were dying. You change the technique.
Right.
You have to change something to slow down the speed limit, especially for kids. I mean, my wife's got a friend whose kid's 16 years old, got Tommy John surgery this May.
Yeah.
And when you're 16, apparently it's like a sissy test, like being a rock star and having long hair. So it was like, well, everybody gets it, so now I'm a real pitcher if I've had time.
Oh, yeah.
What? You're 16?
16, right. Yeah,
Well,
I've actually, unfortunately, I just had shoulder replacement 4 weeks ago, and my doctor, I've always picked his brain about it.
But you were a football player.
Yeah.
Is this a football injury?
Football, yeah. It's I'm getting surgeries now to fix the surgeries I had 35 years ago.
Okay. But they're less invasive, right?
Oh, yeah. Great. It's great. They're great. I don't know why I waited so long. But anyhow, he told me, he's like, I won't do it unless it's a legitimate, draftable guy that's going, being drafted, going into minors and have a chance. He said he won't do Tommy John surgery on high school kids. He's like, it's ridiculous because every kid, every parent now wants, hey,
How about you stop throwing the ball? How about we do that for a year? How about you get healthy? How about you fix your arm?
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to pick it up over your head when you're 40, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's just like that's why I brought the analytics. Like got to get the spin rate and throw the sweeper and all these new pitches and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I just like going to the game watching.
What do you love about baseball?
Oh man,
because you're in the business of football, you're in the business of these players, and you really are emotional about the baseball.
I just love the Orioles.
You're all
yeah.
in.
I
You're
just,
all
I
in.
just like it's one of those. Listen, it's such a long season, but there's and I'll speak for the Orioles, man. It's been, for being a lifelong fan, been up and down and down and down, and then kind of start climbing up. So. You stick with them. At least I have. You just, wherever I've lived, whether I lived in Chicago, I lived in, Houston, and when the bad years, and I'd be wearing my Oriole hat.
The poor ownership. I mean, you're a really smart guy. You know what awful leadership looks like.
Right.
I mean, you've had players sign with bad teams in the NFL where you're like, look, that's a ish show.
Right.
It's terrible, but this is where you're going to make $600,000 this year. You're going to go play football there, right?
Yeah.
Be it backup safety or whatever you represent. Yeah. The baseball side for me is, as a thinking, sentient human, I can't process things like Donald Trump that don't make any sense to me, but things like the Orioles and Peter Angelos over 30 years and how the community was treated and how, not just me, I mean, and not just Mike Flanagan. I'm just talking like players, agents, people, businesses. I mean, the Angelos thing was just so awful for the city, for in every way, that I've detached myself from that part of it as a journalist, and I have a closet full of Orioles stuff, and I want them to win. I need them to win.
Right.
It's good for everybody. Terrell Suggs said to me a couple years ago, you like when we lose. I'm like, dude, you clearly you have a lousy PR director, and I would tell him that if he were here, because they shouldn't be telling you that.
Right.
Your agent shouldn't be. The Baltimore media does not, in any way, ever root against the Orioles or the Ravens. I'm almost not allowed to, even though they've squatted on me.
Right.
But there's a point for you being smart about it in realizing they weren't even trying for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, being that frustrating part of being a fan is one thing. You're on a different level where you know payroll, you know personnel, you know intentions, you know good leadership, quality leadership. The Orioles really lacked all of that in many, many ways for most of our
And it's hard. It's hard. Usually, like, from the NFL standpoint, it can go. It all starts from the top. And so that's why the teams that always have the turnover every 2-3 years. I mean, it's the same usual suspects. It's the same teams. And they're they're the ones that don't have the good organizations, so the good front.
He can't say he's talking about the Browns, but I can. So go ahead. But anyway,
right? But when it's the owner, like when we're talking
can't fix that.
You can't fix it. So. I'll speak for myself. It was just like, hey, you just taking shots to the face every year. Like, here comes another year. Like, because, they're not spending money, or they're making bad decisions, or, just putting a bad product out on the field and treating the fans or whatever like crap. It's like, man, but it's coming from the owner, So, that's tough, Well,
we're trying to figure who this guy is right now, right? And I think he's such a slippery chameleon of a human that I think he'll be able to be whatever you want him to be.
Right.
If you like the guy throwing the hats out and the Mr. Magoo look and that whole, Steve Martin thing, that's good. I think for most fans, you just want to see him win. And part of that, when they raised the ticket prices a couple weeks ago, that got to my doorstep, that they were cutting rewards off of people and stuff. And not everybody's an NFL agent. You just write the check and you think, okay, I'm good. I have friends that are hard-pressed to make 13 game plans in Dundalk, and they love the Orioles more than you.
Right.
And they've been going longer than you've been going, and they're getting priced. You know what I mean? And they're going to they already know they can't go to the playoff games.
Right.
So they already know they're not going to drink the wine.
And the same thing with as we said earlier about, like, the NFL. Like, how about the prices of those games? I'll go to games, and I'm just going by myself and using my tickets for free for my player, and I'll be watching, kids, parents walking in with their 3-4 kids.
$1,200 night.
Yeah, I'm just like, you got to pay $50 for parking, and all that. And I've said it for years. I'm like,
where's the end? Where is it?
Right, and then now I got to pay. Now we got to pay an extra, whatever, $8 a month to watch a game. On each platform. Whatever, whether it's YouTube Prime, Amazon Prime, whatever.
Peacock,
yeah, whatever it is. I'm like, now I got to pay some more to watch a game. I mean, it's like...
Well, that's where it's going, because the media model's gone away. Yeah. So the fans this last couple of weeks are getting that first taste of, you want the game on television, you're going to almost have to pay like you used to pay to go.
Right.
It's going to be $500 a year just to have NFL games.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're going to charge $19.99 for the Super Bowl too.
The good thing about baseball is there's so many games. It's like, sometimes you can get some cheap tickets.
Well, you and I remember the only way to see the Ali fight was to go to the closed circuit, right? They restricted all of that, and the only way to get the Mike Tyson fight was to pay HBO and to buy the $59.99 WrestleMania. Get everybody over to the house. We all chip in $10, right? Get a kegger.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how that model is going to work, because to my point earlier, the NFL went away from me on Thursday night. I forgot they were playing because I had $212 into a Pearl Jam ticket, and I just really didn't care about the Dolphins and the Bills. And I saw a Bills fan back here I gave a lottery ticket to a couple minutes ago, and I'm like, didn't even know it was happening, because, like, my schedule, my cadence isn't on Friday night football or Thursday night football.
Right.
And, Sundays there's a lot of investment in Sundays for people to take the whole day. I'm down. I love the league. I love the game. I'm an expert on the game. I'm a historian. All of that. I'm watching. But I am wondering, like, where does it jump the shark? Where does it get too much that – and the gambling part of it is just –
how about that?
That's a whole new thing for – I see your frustration on that, right?
But it's just kind of, the league, as they always are, hypocritical in a lot of stuff. It was like, for so long it was taboo. We're never going to be in Vegas. All the leagues. And now it's like, oh, okay. It got passed, and now they welcome it, and it's just a free for all out there. And then now they got to worry about players gambling and all.
Well, I always joked that if I was gambling on sports all those years, they would have taken my press pass.
Right.
But they did anyway, and I never
But that
would have been the ultimate if Chad Steele would have caught me running numbers in the locker room,
Right.
that would have been a scar. That would have been a reason to throw me out.
Yeah. Oh,
would have been a reason to
easy,
throw me out is if I was trying to figure out if Joe Flacco was hurt or not so I could bet on it.
Right.
And the notion that anything like that chicanery would have been going on would have been a death knell to my
Right.
It would have been like being Budweiser sponsor to getting a DUI. It just would have been the end of my career.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally.
100%.
And now they have literally players in on it. I mean, I'm seeing LeBron James doing gambling ads. I'm like, is he still playing?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, remember you couldn't do beer ads, smoking. And
you couldn't do any of that stuff. Yeah.
Cannabis is another thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be next. Right now, at least for the NFL, they can't promote CBD or cannabis. But
what else can't they do? I mean, you're an agent. I mean, they can't gamble on the games, obviously, right?
Well, they can't gamble anywhere like on the grounds at the facility. So, but they can gamble off the
They can be at Horseshoe tonight. They can be at Hollywood Casino.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
they can't. The guys that have gotten
And they can bet on basketball, baseball,
Yeah, right, yeah,
just not on the national football. They
Just-
bet on
yeah.
college football if they want.
Right, yeah, but not on the NFL. And that's the guys that have gotten caught, made the mistake of doing it from the locker room, So that they're following all that stuff and tracking all that stuff.
I hope none of those are your. I mean, just the general. And I've met these players my whole life. 23-year-old kids that you represent. Some have scruples and some.
Right.
And to your point, most of the players have been coddled enough that they've had a special set of rules in most places in life, right? To be able to work the edge of that. That the gambling thing's just horrific.
Let me ask you, if you don't mind me, can I ask you about Pete Rose? What's your thoughts on that with the whole gambling? I watched that thing on HBO about Charlie Hustle. It's pretty good. It was a documentary.
I haven't seen it yet. I heard about it.
Yeah. So that I just saw it maybe a week ago, and I was
I'm not a guy who's anti-Pete. I'm a guy that was a reporter that couldn't gamble on sports when I was there. There was rules everywhere about bribery and gambling on baseball and payola and all that stuff that went on. I think it's very obvious he cheated. I think they kept him out of the Hall of Fame because he lied.
Right.
I think it was the greatest thing that ever happened to him, not being in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I have people saying to me, and you might be one of them, saying, you've been martyred by Greg Bader and Chad Steele. You're never getting back in and having a press pass. You should use that to your advantage.
Right.
You know what I mean? You should be the guy. Pete Rose has signed autographs in Cooperstown, has been everywhere, has made so much more money not being in than if he were Steve Carlton and they just put him in.
Just put him in, right.
Or Joe Morgan and they just put him in. Or Johnny Bench and they just put him in. Or any of his teammates who all went in, right? I mean, he was kept out for being a scumbag, which is the same reason they've kept McGuire and Sosa and Bonds and Schilling and Clemens. That there is a moral part of that doesn't apply to Big Papi. Or these like the Hall of Fame's a freaking joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
It really
the Football Hall of Fame's a joke. The Oriole Hall of Fame's a joke. I mean, Larry Lucchino's not in the Oriole Hall of Fame because Peter hated him.
Right.
Janet Marie Smith's not in the Oriole Hall of Fame. She built Camden Yards.
Right.
Because so it's politics or whatever, but how do I feel about Pete Rose? If I took over the Hall of Fame, I put the best players in and put that they cheated, right? I put a scarlet baseball on their plaque.
Right.
And just say, yeah, this guy was a great player, but he cheated.
Right.
And we know he cheated. He went to jail. He went to the jail of cheating.
Right.
And they'd have a better Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like, I don't – my cousin's in the Hall of Fame. Other than it being a museum that I would drive through that's in the middle of nowhere, and I've been there a handful, I have no intention of going back to Cooperstown ever in my life because I just don't think it's an honorable institution.
Right.
Not because of Pete Rose, because of all of it.
Right.
Just all of it. I mean, make a set of rules, honor the best players, and do it with – don't be kayfabe. You're a wrestling guy.
Right.
I mean, why are you going to be kayfabe about this is in, this is out, he's been a bad boy, and we're going to let this guy in? And just let in the right people and put up the markings. I mean, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just curious because we were talking about gambling, and I just saw that documentary not that long ago. It's like, and that's always the long debate is should he be in, should he not be in? But I agree with you, and they document that. They show it that he's more valuable not being in than he is being in.
Oh,
the guy's making a killing.
Yeah, I mean, like for him, for his life, better to be out. I mean, maybe there's an example that you've given me about being because I'm never getting I've been mistreated by these people, and I don't deserve it. You know what I mean? I've done nothing to David Rubenstein or any of his people.
Yeah.
For his people to call me and scream at me and tell me to shut up and treat me like trash, I'm 55 years old. I'm not going to be treated like that.
Right.
I'm not. I'm just not.
Right.
I'm at Cooper's eating crab cakes, having oysters. So that being said, I will analyze them at the expert level that I'm capable of.
Yeah.
I've watched more baseball and football than anybody. But there is a point where all of it is a work,
right?
Like a kayfabe work.
Yeah.
Whether it's Colin Kaepernick, he wasn't one of the best 64 quarterbacks. No, you blackballed him. That's what you blackballed him. That's what you did.
Yeah.
You can run any ads you want, talk about whatever you wanted. You wrecked that man's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you sought to do, and that's what you did on purpose. So, and
100%. There was a guy that didn't deserve that. That's for sure. And still with what's going on now, it's like
they blackballed him in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
I asked Goodell that. Well, Goodell visited the stadium during a preseason game. I want to say it was an evening game, and he was in the back of the press box. He was in with Steve Bisciotti. He did like a little press conference. I don't remember. It was a couple years ago. And I got him in the back of the press, and I said, hey, is the league blackballing? And he gave me that Roger Goodell look. I mean, it was a scrum.
Right.
It wasn't like there weren't cameras.
Right.
It was a media scrum in the back of the press box. And I found it fascinating how quickly they wanted to move off of that but not let him back in the league.
Right. Here's a guy that lost his career because he took a knee for something. And then you have, we'll keep it the same position, you have a quarterback in Cleveland that keeps. I mean, come on. One after another. Another lawsuit just came out, and, the other day, as we all know, and it's like, and this guy's got the most guaranteed in NFL history to start. He's playing in the league, and this other guy got
not well.
Not well at all. But Colin got blackballed from the league for taking a knee.
That's all you need to know about the NFL. They blackballed a Super Bowl quarterback in front of you, in plain sight over the last 10 years. What else are they capable of?
Yeah.
So my question to Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh, if you can look at me and say I'm not a media member, you can say that to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're just it's kayfabe. Now you're just gaslighting me.
Mm-hmm.
As to what the qualifications are to be a quarterback in the league,
right,
or to be a media member in the league, or to be an agent in the league. I don't know. So I'm just going to divorce myself and eat oysters and crab cakes and talk about it from over here.
Yeah,
because they weren't answering my questions anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Harbaugh on Monday. I'm paying a reporter to go out there, spend the whole day out there on Monday. The quarterback's not out on the field. You ask a question, you can't even get a straight answer.
Right. Yeah.
About nothing. Literally about
right,
being difficult just to be difficult, not for any strategic purpose at all. But the injury thing for you as an agent, when your players are injured, how sensitive to that are you? From a HIPAA and from a vulnerability standpoint, from an information standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, just with what you said, I mean, if the organization is not going to disclose what the issue is to the reporters, guess who the reporters are calling next? They're calling the agents.
Right, sure.
There's times, more than none, I don't even know if my guy is hurt, but I'm getting calls, that from a reporter or something that's telling like, hey, how come your player didn't practice today? Is he okay? I'm like, hey, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on, unless I talk to my player. Or I'll get a call from the,
Or more than that, if your player's got a backache, whatever, if the coach is Belichick or Harbaugh or one of those guys, they don't want it out no matter what.
Right.
They're going to get pissed at the player. They're going to punish your player.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They're going to call him and say, your back's hurt. We don't want the Raiders knowing that this week. So why's your agent got a big mouth?
Right.
Why do you have it? Like,
oh, they'll tell you. I mean, these teams, and not one specific, but the teams will tell you, like, hey, make sure the player doesn't tweet anything, or exit, whatever you call it nowadays, or put it out there, or make sure that the agent.
Put it out there.
Yeah,
is what
that
they
I don't.
say.
Yeah,
put it out there.
Yeah. Tell him if you could, let him know that.
Don't put that out there.
Don't put that out there. Yeah. So they'll literally tell the
I'm
player.
a reporter. You know how many times I've heard, don't put that out there?
Right.
Yeah, literally. And from a strategic advantage, I get it. You're in the season, but But being difficult just for the sake of being difficult is sort of a hardball tradition of late, right? That people should know about that. And me being here instead of at practice today, that should be very clear. But it becomes clear with the signs where on a Monday he doesn't practice, and the coach can't even just come out and say he's fine.
Yeah, taking a day off.
Yeah, I mean, as the agent, you would want that. The player should want that. Come on, coach. Don't make people think I might be hurt.
Right, because
you know what I mean?
Now,
come on.
yeah, because now,
don't do that.
Now when that player has to face the media on Wednesday or whatever, he's got to answer these questions. Well, you didn't practice on Monday. What's wrong?
Good.
What's really wrong?
You're a good Western Maryland, Pennsylvania boy. I know you had a good mother because I don't know your mother, but you had a good mother. Your mother would just say, just tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell the truth.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep.
Just tell the truth and we figure it out.
Right.
That's the journalist in me is figuring out, well, is it raining outside or not? Whatever you say, I got to go check.
Right.
I got to go look and say, is it raining or is it not? That's my job.
Well, how about the other night with the running back for San Francisco? That he was told. Come on, he was told on Friday that McCaffrey wasn't playing and he was going to start. So he did you
keep going, tell the story.
Yeah, so after the game, he said, I guess the reporter asked him, "Hey, when did you know you were going to start?" "Oh, the coach told me on Friday," which that's a big no-no because they didn't disclose it to the league.
Well, the gambling.
Yeah. Right, so
the gambling part of whether Christian McCaffrey's going to play or whether he's not.
Then someone must have grabbed him, the PR person.
So you can't say that.
Yeah, so then when he was up at the podium, because he had a great game, when he's up at the podium, he's like, I get mad, you guys are asking me, put me in bad situation, and he denied.
Put me in a bad situation because my organization's been lying.
Right.
So now I have to keep the lie.
Right.
That's the kayfabe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I guess, having a real NFL agent here, it falls to you too.
Right.
And the kid's family, and the teammates, and the gamblers.
Oh, yeah.
When you start to be dishonest, they set all these rules up so that Belichick and Harbaugh can't be dishonest, and yet they still find a way to try to, out of paranoia or whatever they believe is to be a competitive advantage, want to then dupe the gamblers.
Right.
You're duping the public, you're duping the gamblers, right? You're duping the line.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's all so new. Who's policing this? Congress?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'll leave you with this because we'll take a break. And I think is James Bond here yet? I think he's coming by. I just want to make sure I'm not making my guest wait at 1:15. But if you and I right now on the radio said we're going to create a new game, we're going to create a new sport, break dancing with balls. I don't know. Okay, We're going to have a sport and we're going to create it. And you and I are going to be the commissioner of the league. And then we're going to put the sport out there. We're going to sign players. We're going to have agents. We're going to put it on TV. And the game's going to get popular.
Pickleball.
Pickleball. There you go, pickleball. So
it's on TV now. I'm like, what?
The game's going to get popular, pickleball, and we're going to have a league, and we're going to be the commissioner. And we're just going to set up rules, and we're going to open a gambling line for it. And you're going to say, well, who adjudicates who wins the bets? Well, we do.
Right.
That starts to sound like a dice game down in Little Italy in the 40s, right? We're going to start a game in the alley. We're going to hold the dice. We're going to blow on the dice. We're going to decide who wins and loses and cut the money up. That's what the referees do in the NFL.
Yeah.
This is a sanctioned game that's not like casino gambling or like the lottery where this ticket's a winner and this ticket's a loser and it's predetermined. This is like picking winners and losers. Who wins and loses a bet is a guy in a white shirt that says flag on pass interference or not. I can't fathom anywhere else in the world where they're running a game, running a dice game, saying we're going to pick the winners and losers, bet, handle it. Must have won the lottery there. I'm getting pats on the back. It's really amazing how they've institutionalized the gambling part of this over the last 3 or 4 years. And they're deciding who wins and loses bets.
Right.
That's crazy.
And one of the things, we're talking football here, that speaking of referees, when are we going to hold the referees accountable? They can, as you said, they can determine games and blown calls, whatever, and they just move on. They just move on. And no, like, it's just, even with player fines, player fines, which that just drives me nuts. There'll be a person, like roughing the passer or something. You know how ridiculous that has become. So roughing, if you even touch the quarterback, it's a flag. Well, that player's getting fined, $40,000, for the first offense, and it keeps going up, up and up.
$40,000 for a player that might be making $600,000.
Right? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it's like, it's kind of a catch-22 because it's like, well, that's a horrible call. Now you have the right to appeal it. Yeah, we appeal it, but I call them the Keystone Cops, the NFL, because it's like, you can appeal it. You can have proof of that the play's hard. It wasn't a personal foul or whatever, and they're going to make a decision. Anyway.
I have proof that I'm a media member, but not today. Right? I mean, literally. I mean, that's who they are.
Right.
That's the kayfabe. That's the gaslighting. That you have to be kayfabe to get in on it. To your point, like you were talking to Shine, and like reporters get the information. The team decides the reporter they like, and they give the information.
They're leaking the team. No matter what team it is, it's tough. I heard you guys talking about how tough it is nowadays to be a reporter and cover teams. And I'm speaking for the NFL. Each team has if you're not on side with them, if you're not favorable to them, if you write anything bad about them, they'll cut you off. So then you'll see it's obvious. Then you'll see the one reporter that gets all the information. It's leaking. It's all pro team, pro organization. And from I'll just speak from my experience. So from the agent standpoint, it's like, all right, I know, but the teams will call us and be like, don't put anything out there. We keep this between us or whatever. And I'm like, well, you're leaking the stuff.
Right.
And then players will tell me. I mean, I have stories, like players will be
the sensitivity to all that's amazing. I wrote in that Eric DaCosta letter that I hope you read. Dick Cass got pissed at me 15 years ago for having the schedule. I'm a reporter. I mean, where did I get it? I got it. I mean, it's and it's always right. And I would text it out to the whole world.
Right.
And they hated that because they wanted the more the moratorium on that till 6 o'clock for BAL. And when they threw me out, I'm sure it was like, well, that's more retaliation. You know what I'm saying? For doing your job well. You do your job well as a reporter, you will be retaliated against.
Right.
And it never used to be that way.
Right.
It never.
If you're doing doing your job,
that wasn't considered to be good business 25 years ago.
Good, bad, writing good, bad, whatever. Writing the truth. They're gonna kick you aside.
Just like your mom and I told you we had good mothers. Mother said, just tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Just tell the truth.
Just
Simple
report.
as that. Chad Wiesling's here. He is Black Label Agency. He is here in Canton, Baltimore, Maryland. He represents Josh Jacobs and a handful of other NFL players. Terps, you got anything on Terps? You want to?
Who we got? I don't even know who we got this week.
I don't know. I didn't even know they played Michigan State till it was over with.
I did. I watched the Michigan State game. So no, we got Villanova. I'm sorry. We got Villanova this week. So hopefully we bounce back.
At least it's not a basketball game.
Right. Yeah, good point. But we should bounce back, hopefully bounce back and get back on the winning road. So
Maryland, we're all behind you. All right. He's Chad. I'm Nestor. We're here courtesy of the Maryland Lottery. I have scratch-offs. These beautiful ladies behind me are getting them. They don't know it yet. 1-800-CLEAN Water. Get you Liberty Pure Solutions. They keep your water clean, my water clean. They are well water specialists as well as good plumbers. And the oysters in the bay keep the bay clean. We're having an oyster a day every day this month, 26 days for 26 years of WNST. I'm going to have my new logo out soon with the oyster and the crab. I don't know if I'm signing off here. I think James Piper Bond's going to come by. We're going to do some maritime magic and living classrooms, but I'm going to let you get back to taking care of your players, iron this jersey, get this jersey ready for the game in Detroit tonight.
Yep.
You go up to Yankee Stadium next week?
Thinking about it. I'm thinking about taking the train. I may, and depending where we're at, I'm already planning on going to Minnesota for the last. If it comes down to the last.
Have you been to Target Field yet?
Yes,
for a game?
I have.
Yeah, it's great ballpark.
Great, love that city. Great.
Only ballpark I haven't been to is the new Atlanta ballpark because it happened after my tour.
Right.
Yeah, I did the 30 ballparks in 15.
Yeah.
It's been 9 years since I did that crazy tour, right? So
So I'm thinking about going to New York. Obviously, training up. Wouldn't be surprised if I just spur of a moment go. But if we have a chance to win at the end, I'm definitely going to Minnesota for the whole weekend.
Loves the Orioles, Chad
That's
Wiestling.
an NFL weekend. I should be working, NFL, but I'll be in Minnesota.
Well, if you get stuck with a playoff ticket, I'll come down and buy you some beers.
All right.
I will have a letter to David Rubenstein as well as Chad Steele. There's a great letter to Eric DaCosta I've put out, as well as my Declaration of Independence, which really is not playing kayfabe anymore. I'm too old to hide behind lockers, as Lou Baker once said in Major League. So Chad's out in front. If you see a guy who looks like him at the ballpark, ask him about his football players. I'm Nestor. We're at Cooper's. We're down here in Fells Point for the Fells Point Oyster Festival, slurping and shucking, just the way I like it. We're Baltimore Positive. Stay with us.